I am Mudita, and welcome back to Satisfactory Update 1.2. In this save, I'm using a few of the new game modes that have just been added. I need 100 times the space elevator parts to complete each phase. Each machine takes 5 times the normal power, and all the resource nodes are random, and so is the purity. In the last video, I added even more coal power. I have well over 200 generators in my world currently, and a few geothermals as well. I also increased the amount of power storage I have. I then automated the last space elevator part for this phase. The countdown to complete phase 2 has begun. I've got plenty I want to get done while I wait. Today I'm going to be replacing my temporary steel setup with more towers and more production. I'm going to do some more exploring, unlock some more things in the MAM, and then a whole lot more exploring. I'm also going to automate motors, because I have a feeling I'm going to need a few of those soon. It's very bare bones, but nice and simple and clean. I'm glad I finally moved it up here. And if we take a look at the progress, I am finally over halfway for the smart plating. Still have a ways to go on the other two. There is a good amount I want to get done today, but I'm not in a huge rush to just build all the factories right away. I'm going to split it up by doing a little bit of exploring now. There's a couple things that are close to here actually. I'm pretty sure there's still a couple Mercer spheres, sloops, and hard drives that are fairly close that I just haven't gotten around to getting to, mainly because they're high up, so I get to build to them. So without a jetpack, that usually means I just use lots of stairs, because these can climb really quickly. The catwalk stairs are actually twice as steep as the normal foundation stairs or ramps, so sometimes when you need to go up, obviously a ladder is going to work really well, but sometimes it's nice to use stairs instead. Or like I showed last time, the good old zipline trick. And the best part is, once you do get up high, well, now the next one's easy. Home sweet home. This was one of the shorter trips. I was only out for about an hour and a half or so, but there was something in particular I was actually looking for. I didn't talk about it in the last video, but I did unlock a major thing in the MAM. I was only able to unlock it and I couldn't build it, so I just didn't mention it. It's time to build an alien power augmenter. I had ran out of computers because I still can't make those, so the only way to get them is finding them at the crash sites. But now I have enough, and I can get some more free power. That is exciting. Well, this is kind of big and going to take up a lot of space, and it was kind of nice being able to just go from the hub and run right down my little corridor here. Now this is kind of in the way. Like with the rest of the save, that means it's time to go up. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that the beams would shoot through the ground. That's what every world needs, a floating alien power matrix. Okay, no, I'm not going to leave it like that. Let's go with grip metal. Just some big frame pillars. Might actually lift this up a meter, just so the foundation isn't clipping into there. Alright, let's get this connected to the grid. Well, right there, just the power boost is almost a free 2,000 megawatts. Oh, beautiful. Look at that, all that extra room I have now. Yeah, I have a feeling that more of my summer sloops are going to go to alien augmenters than I've ever used in the past. Normally, I only use like 2 in my world. I could see myself using more, though. I did get a few slugs and a few remains. I'm going to work my way through those. So, it shouldn't take long. I'm just going to crank these out real quick. Here we have the automated wiring tower and pretty much everything that's just feeding my dimensional depots. And on this side, we've got the smart plating section of the factory. And this used to be just completely empty. And I filled in the middle part because there's enough room to get done what I want to do. But I really kind of wanted to keep seeing all of the tractors drive around, and so I wanted to leave this section open so I could see them driving across. And same thing with this side. I already have this set of stairs here to get down to all of these miners, and I thought that would just be useful. So since I have enough space to be able to put gaps on either side, I figured why not? I'm not going to have room to squeeze in anything else, so I think this is kind of a nice change up. One of these days, I'm going to build a factory that's going to be permanent, and I'll spend a little bit of time decorating. But that's not today. Probably not even next week's. The week after that? Maybe. Let's go over the plan real briefly, and then we can go through these blueprints. This first new section of the factory is going to be really basic. One tower is iron ingots, the next one is the foundries to do the solid steel ingot, because that is just still, even with the 5x power, fantastic recipe. And then just the normal steel beams. I looked at the molded steel beams recipe, and it just does not seem worth it. The next set of towers is even simpler. We just need iron ingots and right into iron pipes. I don't think iron is going to be an issue, and so the less coal I have to use, the better. Encased industrial beams are just making iron pipes and then concrete, combining those in an assembler tower. And then last but not least, I am also going to be making quick wire. We'll start with the smelters on the south end, and everything will work its way this way. Let's start off with the Caterium. I really don't need a ton of quick wire. You probably saw I'm only making 60, which only takes 12 ingots to make. For those Caterium ingots, let's set the recipe. I need a whopping 12 ingots. I'm going to be using just one blueprint, so 18 machines, default rate of 15. Multiply that by 100. Each machine will be making 2/3 a minute. Terrific. So the Caterium tower is going to be the farthest one to the east. And the reason I'm putting the Caterium on this side, we just need the one tower. I did some of the load balancing for that already, and it could go to any side. The coal is going to be coming from right over there. And so I figured the steel tower should be the farthest on this side. I'm going to do all the smelter towers first. The next one is doing iron ingots, and I need a lot of them. I need 240, which would normally need 8 smelters. So if I'm looking at placing around 80, each blueprint has 18. I need to place at least 5. That's not a great number. We'll just round up. 6 really isn't too bad to work with. 108 smelters. So let's set that recipe. 240 ingots across 108 smelters, divided by the default rate of 30. Multiply that by 100. Each one will make 2 and 2/9 ingots. Standard 2 foundation gap in between the towers. And just spam all 6 away. And that's half the smelter towers. The other 2 are both going to be iron, so we just need to set some new recipes. I think 20 steel pipes a minute is going to be fine. I don't think I'm going to use nearly as many of those as I am the steel beams, which I'm going to make at 30 a minute. And using the iron pipe recipe, I just need 80 ingots. So I'm aiming for about 26 machines, so that means 2 blueprints would be 36. So that's good. Default rate of 30, multiplied by 100. Terrific. And oddly enough, 2 and 2/9 again. Looks like I need to add more dimensional depots to the concrete. Always concrete. One last iron ingot tower. And luckily enough for me, I need the exact same amount of iron ingots for this tower, so I can just build another 2. Just get this out of the way. Well, with these towers, I just have 2, so load balancing these pretty easy. 6 isn't too much more complicated. I just need 1 here and then 1 in front of that one. The very first splitter is going to end up going up to the 4th floor, whereas this splitter is going to split it and it's going to load balance across the first 3. So one of them is going to go here, one of them is going to go to this second blueprint, and then the third one is going to go up to the 3rd floor. And then with that one, I just repeat the whole thing for the top 3 floors. Next up, boundaries. But while I was getting this loaded up and I had just run power throughout all of these towers to make sure that they're all connected, I realized I could clean this all up. And there's something super exciting for me here in the MAM. We scroll down. This right here, upgraded power connectors, is new to 1.2. I'm so excited to finally get this unlocked. It's only 15 computers, but the only way to get those is by finding them. Thankfully, I could craft these, because I found a decent amount of circuit boards at crash sites also, so I did need to craft these up, but now I can finally have daisy chaining.
Upgraded power connectors unlocked. Buildings now support 2 power connections, any of which may be attached to other buildings.
Short and sweet. Thanks, Ada. So I am not going to redo all of these towers. Just not worth it. But from here on, well, now we can do something a little bit different. So now I should be able to just go from here to here. Here. Oh, this is so cool. Helps remind me to put in my ladders. So this is just like the ceiling lights, if you've ever daisy chained those. Now you can do it with all the machines. So I went from left to right, and now we'll go from right to left. And with only 2 floors, this works out really nicely. Because when I stack these, I'll be able to connect this one to the next floor. And it'll be super easy. For my smelters and constructors, because they are in sets of 3, I'm probably still going to daisy chain them, but I'm still going to have like a connector here just to make it not super awkward. I'll show you when I get to one of those. Oh, that's so much nicer. It's not a whole spider web of cables going into the corner. Not the end of the world, but this does look better. Since we're here, let's go ahead and set the recipe for the beams. Using the solid steel ingot, I'll be making 120 ingots. Normally that would take 2 machines. If I placed 4 of the blueprints, that would be 24. Divided by the default rate of 60, multiplied by 100. Each one will make 5. Well, I guess that one I could have done the easy math. None of these towers are going to be all that tall, so 2 foundations as a gap in between them going this way should be more than enough. And I just need 4 of these. There's the foundry tower. And here's what I mean for the constructors. So they all daisy chain together, and then the main power will just run straight up and down right next to one of these pillars. Because if I did the same pattern where I went left to right, to the left, to the right, that means it would end here, and this connection would be open, and that connection would be open. And so when I stack them, I would have to go diagonally across to get the blueprints connected. I'm just not crazy about that. I could just shrink this and do them in stacks of 2, and then that would solve the problem, but I really like being able to put as many as I can in the blueprint. That way I can include more of the load balancing inside the blueprint. The power is just a lot easier to get around. Both of the next 2 constructor towers are going to be using the iron pipe recipe. The first one is making steel pipes, just for steel pipes. A whopping 20 per minute will be going to storage. Normally you need less than 1 machine, so we'll just use 1 blueprint. Beautiful. And my 1 singular blueprint. I like it when it's this easy. The next tower needs a few more, so let's set this one. I'm going to be making 3 times that, so 60 pipes. Should normally need 2.4. 24 is actually a really easy number to get to since each one of these blueprints has 12. So we'll do 24 machines exactly, divided by the default rate, and multiply by 100. Once I knew I was placing exactly 24, I could have just typed in 10%, but old habits die hard. For this one, I just need 2. For the last constructor tower, I changed it to Caterium because that's what we're using. It's finally time to have a real setup for Quickwire. Quickwire is one of those things where you use very little bits of it most of the time whenever you need like Mark II power poles and stuff like that. And then every once in a while, you'll run into a project where you need tens of thousands of it at a time. So 60 is most likely more than I need. But who wants to run out of anything? So 60 is going to be a good number. And normally that would only need 1 machine. So we'll use 1 blueprint of 12. Divide that by the default rate of 60. Multiply by 100. 60 divided by 12. Again, I could have done the quick math on that one. one last constructor tower for this row. Hey, I can even completely finish this one. All I need is that one. It's one tower to one tower. This one just needs a little bit more work. I just need to merge together the outputs of all of these blueprints down and then split it in between these two. That's not bad. With the foundries, I've got 4 blueprints, so this one's going to be another one that isn't too bad, but it does take a little bit more. But since I'm only dividing by 2 and not using all 3 outputs of the smelters, these need to be one up higher. What am I thinking? There we go. This part really isn't bad because we just split this in half. That one goes up to floor 3. And then these first splitters just split in between the first 2. Alright, so that's the first half, and then I just repeat it for the second half. I finally got smart and added some railing around my giant gap. I bet you'll never guess why I finally did that. Added some signs and just decided to add it onto the pillar instead of just right next to it. This is just so much more convenient. I don't know why I didn't do that sooner. So now I know exactly how much I need to plug into each of these towers, and then my plan is to just keep doing that. So even though it's super obvious going from one to the next, if there's ever a problem here, it makes it really easy to just come back and add a throughput monitor. And now I can check and see. I can't automate the crystal oscillators, so I'm not trying to place those on every single belt. In the future, I could see myself adding a lot more of the throughput monitors. Although these towers are a little bit special and getting an accurate number is a little hit or miss, it can still help. And it's just nice to see numbers. The iron ingots are just going to go from one tower to the next, and then the coal will be brought from down below. And then we just load balance across the 4. And like I mentioned, we just group up all 6 of the blueprints all the way down. And then split in between these 2. Now we're on to the 3rd row, which I actually only need 2 towers because this tower and this tower are all done. They're already making the final product of iron pipes and quickwire. So now I just need another constructor tower. This one is going to be making steel beams, and a big reason why I'm doing the regular steel beams and not the molded steel beams is this one can still be made in the constructor. I don't need to make extra concrete and then use an extra set of foundries. Which, by the way, why is it in a foundry? I digress. I'm going to be making 30 steel beams a minute. Should normally need 2 machines, so let's do 24. Divided by the default rate of 15, multiply that by 100. Each one will output 1.25. I guess I might need to add just a little bit more foundation over here. Last but not least, one assembler tower. A little bit more red to spice up the area. Encased industrial beams, but I don't want to use the regular one. Encased industrial pipe is just better. So I'm going to be placing 10 per minute. Now, I know 10 per minute is not a lot. And in the next phase, I'm going to unlock Mark IV belts. But the way I've been designing most of my factories is the large majority of the belts are Mark I or Mark II if I need it for like screws or wire or something like that. And then I'm only really using the higher speed belts going from the miner to the tower or from tower to tower sort of a thing. So I think, and just kind of hoping, 10 should be enough. At least it's a good starting point. So go with 10. Normally that would need 2.5 machines. If I'm looking at placing 25, 24 is close enough. Hopefully I'm getting to the point where I don't need to underclock everything to 10%. Or at least I can dream. 10.4167%. And like I said, that tower is all done. That's our iron pipes. So this is going right here. So I said this was the last tower, but I kind of forgot. I still need one other piece to this, don't I? The other 2 towers are making the ingots and then the steel pipes, but I am missing the concrete. But concrete's easy. I just need 1 tower of constructors. I need 50 concrete per minute. I'll place 3 blueprints, so that's 36 machines. Default rate of 15, multiplied by 100. Alright, perfect, just under the 10%. So since these 2 towers are all done, I'm just going to put the concrete right here. Just need 3 of those. And that's all I need for the concrete. The finished product for the quick wire, I'll probably just take out this way and then go around to the storage. And then this just needs the limestone to come up from down below. So I've got plenty of empty space to work with here. And then once I get all 3 blueprints grouped up, I'm just going to have one merger here. This concrete is then going to go over to this tower. So chances are I'll make this one the bottom one. And then the pipes will just feed into this top one. But load balancing this is going to be exactly the same as the foundries. But now that it's getting to be nighttime, and of course I'm still using a bunch of pitch black foundations, let's hit the fast forward. The towers are all set, ready to go. Next step would be grabbing the ore. Oh perfect, everything's backed up over there anyways. This is a perfect time to go delete it all. It's time for more Caterium load balancing. So this whole thing that I promised was temporary, I'm gonna delete. Using a smart splitter, I've diverted the ore into a sink for now. It's nice finally having a little bit of wiggle room that I don't have to worry about the 150 megawatts of an extra sink here and there. I'm gonna delete it as soon as I start up this factory. I would just like everything to keep running smooth, and that way this whole ratio split doesn't back up. I think I need to delete all of this just to free this bean. Get out of here, buddy. Are you stuck on power lines? What is your deal, man? Be free! Alright, so now I'm going to do a little bit more load balancing with that Caterium, but these are kind of in the way. I guess I didn't think that far ahead. But there is a cool trick, which I'm sure most of you already know about. In the settings, I'm pretty sure by default is on because I didn't change anything. If you highlight a bunch of stuff that you want to delete, but know it's going to fill up your inventory, just going to have this all selected, and then I'm not going to press anything. I'm going to run all the way back. Probably just going to want to move all of this over to here where I'm going to be making quick wire. So instead of having to ferry everything back and forth a few times because my inventory is only so big, you can see down there I've still got everything highlighted. And now when I delete it all, everything just shows up here. Now I have a full crate of just tons and tons of quick wire. You could theoretically move, I guess, 50 industrial storage containers worth of items all the way across the map in one go. Not something I need all the time, but it is a handy trick. Time for another ratio split. This one isn't as crazy as the last one. From this whole monstrosity, I have a belt of 63. I can barely see. There we go, 63. So that is coming over here. Right now it's just going into the sink, but that is what I'm working with. And I'm going to end up using all of it, but for just right now, I need 36. A few more minutes into the video, I'll use the other 27. Alright, so we're going to follow the diagram, but I am going to try to explain a little bit the reason why I did it this way. So if we split 63 three ways, we'll have 21 on each of these outputs. So we've got 63 plugging into this splitter, and then we've got 21, 21, and then the last 21, we just need a merger, but that'll be farther up. Now, if I split 21 into thirds, I've got 7. From here, we're going to go with the merger. There's 7. And then the other 7 is going to plug into this one. So we'll just spin that around. Get a nice little stubby lift here. And do the same on this side. Alright, so we've got 21 plus 14. I've got 35 out of the 36 that I need in this merger. And now I've got 7 going into this merger. Now 7 isn't the greatest number to work with, but this is very similar to doing a 5-way split. Instead of needing 2 splitters, I need 3. Because what we're doing is we're going to split this 8 ways, and then that very last one is going to loop back to the merger, making it a 7-way split. So that 7 that gets plugged into here will end up looping back 1. So this becomes 8. Now with the 8, we're going to split that in half, and we're going to put a merger over here. And there's 4. And then here's 4. We'll add another merger up here. So that will be 2, and then this one is 2. One of these is already getting looped back. The other one is going to go in line with that merger all the way up here. So we've got 1. And there's the 35. So now I've got 36. And on here we've got 4 and 2. There's 6. But I actually need this belt. The very last 21, that one gets plugged into this one as well. The 21 plus the 6, now I've got my 27 on here, 36 on here. So when you have a number like 63, I know that eventually I'm going to have to do the whole loop back system. Normally, what I try to do is find the next best number above 63, because 64 is actually a really easy number to work with since it's a power of 2. But 63 didn't actually end up being that bad, because yes, I did still have to do the loop back when I got down to 7. Ultimately, there doesn't end up being a huge difference. All of this just to say there are a lot of ways you can go about doing these kind of ratio splits. I cleaned up everything over here from the temporary steel setup. Now I've just got my 2 miners over here. I decided it would be fun to switch things up just a little bit. The iron node is clocked to 80. And so is the coal node. The iron just makes its way down here, and then once it gets next to the coal node, it turns into a sushi belt. 80 of each, so only 160 items in total. That easily fits on a Mark III belt. Just make a fairly short journey right over there. Once we get to here, I just use a smart splitter to split them back up, so that way the coal can go to this tower, and then the iron goes a little bit farther back to the first smelter tower. And then here we have the next iron node. Because there's so many iron nodes, I was able to actually underclock them instead of having to overclock them and use up even more power. So this one is also underclocked down to 80. The last iron node, the one that's plugging in right there, that one comes from over here. 2 of the nodes are coming from over here. The iron node right there, and then the limestone is coming from just a little farther back. So that I don't have to run all over the place like I've done in the past, I try to make things a little bit easier on myself. All I need to do is delete this smart splitter and the sink. So we'll get this all done in one go. And then there's just 1 power connection over there I need to make. So for now, my extra 27 Caterium ore are going to go right into here. Once I get this part of the factory up and running, then I'll be able to use this stuff. So let's go ahead and start here and start the stopwatch. All 4 parts are now automated. Let me slap some throughput monitors on here and see if we ever get consistent numbers at all. Looks like quick wire is nice and steady. The beams fluctuate a little bit, about 29 to 31. The pipes are very bursty. This one I don't think is going to read very correctly. Thanks to a comment, someone suggested that I could probably add a kind of like a rate limiter using some splitters and mergers, and that could probably even things out. And I really like that idea. and I think in certain places that might be fun to play around with. Here, I think that's just going to be more work than it's worth. Trying to even out the 180-second cycle time, since all of the constructors are going to finish at once, it's just going to stay really bursty. And that's okay. By the time they cycle again, it's already back down to 0. Unlike the constructors that are basically all outputting at once, these ones are much more staggered, so this stays a little bit more accurate than the steel pipes one. I need to let this run for a little bit, make sure that there aren't any hiccups and I didn't forget any belts again, but that's easy for me to do because I'm not going far. There wasn't going to be enough to do the next project in this small of an area, and that's why it ended up being a little bit more open, and I've got my glass floors and all that jazz. So even though I've just gone in one gigantic long straight line all the way down to the end of the biome, it's finally time to branch off, and I think probably around here is where I'll branch off a little bit and add one last factory for the phase. I need motors. Foundations replaced. Now I've got somewhere to work with. Let's take a look at the plan real quick. I'm going to be making a whopping 3 motors a minute, which is not a lot. I don't have a use for them real soon, and I've still got at least 10 hours probably until I complete this phase, which will give this plenty of time to build up a pretty good stockpile. It is possible to make motors purely out of iron, but as you can probably guess by all of the splitting of Caterium I've done, some of that is going here. The quick wire stator is just a great recipe to be able to make a little bit more per machine. That way I just need less, easier on the power grid. Same thing with the copper rotor, I'll be using that one again. Let's go ahead and start with the smelter towers. We'll do the Caterium first. This is going to be using the 27 ore that I already split off earlier, and it's just going to a sink right now. Now I just need to delete it and reroute it. I only need 1 blueprint, so that's 18 machines. The default rate, since I'm dealing with the ore, is 45, and then we multiply that by 100. 3 1/3%. Each one will make 0.5. The Caterium ore is coming from right down there. So I think it'd be best to start with the Caterium towers in this side, and then we'll do the iron and whatnot going forward. And just need 1. From here, we move on to the iron. I'm going to try to spice it up and give it just a touch more color, and I'm going to make my iron towers with blue concrete. Now I do need 2 sets of iron, so the next one over next to the quick wire I want to be the ones that are going to pair up. Quick wire is going to the quick wire stators. The other part of that I need are the steel pipes. I need 48 iron ingots for that. I can do that with just 1 blueprint. Looks good to me. And again, just 1 blueprint. The next tower over will be the other iron tower, and for this one I only need 26 ingots. Same thing, only need 1 blueprint. Ooh, gotta love these numbers. Good power savings here. 1 more smelter blueprint. And that's it for the iron smelters. We just need 1 last one over there for the copper. So I obviously had to go with copper foundations. I don't need a lot of copper sheets. In fact, I only need 24 ingots. We can do with 1 blueprint again. Looking good. And the last of the smelters. Looks like I ran out of room. We'll just add 1 more. I've got my little signage added. All the towers are connected to each other. Thankfully, since there's only 1 blueprint for each one, it was all pretty easy. And then I added some stairs. I may or may not have just fallen off. The hazards of working on a floating platform. I'm going to go in the same order. Quick wire first. I only need 45 quick wire. So that's 1 blueprint. This is going to be a pretty easy factory to throw together. That just goes in line with the smelters for the Caterium. And that's all I need for this one. Now I switch to the blue foundations, and let's do iron pipes next. I need 12 per minute, and that's how many constructors I'm going to do. 1 per minute per machine. And that is the steel pipes done. Forgot I can actually just connect these. These are all super quick and easy. The next iron tower is doing the cast screws. I'll be making 104, which would normally need just over 2 machines, so I'll place 2 blueprints, so that's 24, default rate of 50, multiply by 100, 4 1/3 per machine. And this is one of the few that I actually have to place 2 blueprints for. Last constructor tower is going to be the copper sheets. This is another one where I need 12, and I'm going to place 12 machines. So even I can do this math. 1 per machine. And that is the last of the constructor towers. Last row of machines are all going to be assemblers. I need to combine these two into quick wire stators, and so that one is going to go right in front here. Then I need to take the screws and the copper sheets and combine those into the rotors. Those will go right in front of that tower. And then I'm going to have the outputs of those snake back in front. The final tower of motors are going to be right here in the center. And these are going to be blue and yellow. Because sometimes I want to be lazy, and someone at Coffee Stain decided these are a good pair. So what I'll do if I want to switch the colors around is I'll go into edit. You can obviously change the colors if you want. You can also save the colors. So I'll just hit this icon right here, and then I'll just call this swatch 1 blue. Already have something named that. And that way I can come up to my custom swatch and I can say, instead of blue and yellow, maybe I want it to be yellow and blue. And now I can use the exact same colors, but in reverse. I need 6 stators. Normally this would use 3/4 of a machine. I'm looking for 7.5. I could just place 6, but placing 2 of these blueprints isn't really that hard either. So let's just do 2 of them, which would be 12, default rate of 8, multiply that by 100. Each one will make 0.5. That's the 2 blueprints right here. We'll just do the next one over just because that'll be easiest. So that would be motors next. I'm going to be making 3 per minute, which needs 0.6 of a machine. So if I'm going to place 6, that will be 10% on each one. 6 machines, 0.5 each. That math checks out. And now I just need the 1. And again, this one's nice and easy since I need 6 and I'm going to place 6 machines, 1 per minute for each machine. And just the 1 blueprint. Compared to how tall all of the rest of these towers are, section of the factory is so little. There's not a whole lot of belt work I have to do, but let me just knock that out real quick. Now I've got my signage on both the constructor and the assembler towers, and we've got the simple belt work going from one to the next. So if we zoom up a little bit, it's a little bit easier to tell. The copper sheets and the screws get grouped together to this tower. And then we've got the quick wire and the iron pipes going to this tower. And then the outputs for both of those just snake back to the front. And here is our motor tower. And here's my storage for this. So far, for the large majority of these parts, I just have 2 industrial storage containers. Although I did increase it for the quick wire. Because I'm making so few, but there are going to be times where I'm going to use a lot. I just want to be able to have a huge buffer, so when I do need it, it's available. And then more than likely, it's going to be tens of hours until I need a lot of them again, which will hopefully give the system plenty of time to replenish the stock. I'll end up adding another dimensional depot, but for now, I just have the 1. I have the smart splitter set so the priority is to the left, and that way it'll feed the dimensional depot first. Once that overflows, then this will fill up. Once both of them fill up, then the overflow for this one will kick in, and it will make its way over to the sink that I have set up for all of these. I'm sure many of you noticed this before I did, that I completely forgot to switch over my blueprint to the daisy chain style, so the cables are a little bit sloppier over here. But it's a work in progress. I'm slowly switching all my blueprints over. The Caterium is coming from right there. Now I just need a little bit of iron and copper. Oh look, a pure node. And the copper really isn't too far away either. We've got a pure node down here. And here's that copper node. It's been sitting just right underneath the smart plating this whole time, waiting for me to finally use it. I added the lift and the belt for the Caterium, although that's not actually connected yet, it's still being sunk. I just need to delete the sink and connect the lift to the belt, and that'll be good to go. And then the iron has the shortest trip, because it's just right there. I just need to do a tiny bit of load balancing. In total, I need 74 iron ore, but I need to split it 48 and 26. And this shouldn't take up too much space, so let's just go ahead and start right here. And this starts with a merger. Plenty of space, so 74 gets plugged into there. 74, not a great number to work with. I'll loop back 1 so that way I can work with 75. So I'll end up with 75 going into this splitter. 75 split 3 ways gives me 25 on each one. And 25 is not bad because that's just a 5-way split, which would end up giving me 5. And then another 5-way split. So a merger, 2 splitters, and then followed by a merger and 2 splitters. And from here, we can go to the right side, and I just need a merger. And that side is done. On this side, working our way back, it'll be the second splitter. We'll skip this spot, and then we place 1 more merger, and then 1 more behind it. And that's the 3 mergers for this side. Alright, so like I said, we'll loop some back, so this is going to be 75. Which will give me 25, 25, and 25. With the 25, we'll do the 5-way loop, which loops back 5 from this one. So now I'm going to have 30 here. That's 15. And that's 15. Split that 3 ways. There's one of the 5, there's 5, and there's 5. And on here, there's 40. Which would give me 45 here. And then we just do another 5-way split. That'll be 6, that'll be 3, and here's my 48. This 3 is going to get split all 3 ways. So there's the 25 plus the 1, there's my 26. So now this one right here needs to get looped back to the nearby merger. 2 short lifts there. And then the very last output, we're going to go up to the normal lift height, and that's the one that's getting looped back to the very beginning. Put it on this side. To turn the 74 into 75. And just like that, I took the 74 and split it 48 and 26. I've got the lifts in place, so the right amounts are going to the right towers. We are set to turn this thing on. First things first, I just need to delete this belt and this sink. And connect this. And connect this for the iron tower. And just flip the switch on the copper. There's the first motor. Okay, well that took a while, but we finally got up to 100% on the machines. Let me show you why. The motors actually cycle relatively quick for assemblers, 120 seconds, one per minute of each of these, but to actually start constructing and to cycle, they need two of each in here. And when it gets to 100%, it actually needs double, because that's when the inventory gets taken out, is at the end of the cycle. But since I have 6 machines per blueprint, and there's only one blueprint here, that means every 2 minutes I need 12 rotors and 12 stators. If we take a look at the stators, I have twice as many machines. Instead of 6, I have 12, and each one of them put out 2 stators, but the cycle time is double. So for this tower, every 4 minutes, I get twice as much as I need here. And then this tower is, well, actually still waiting to get up to 100%. Of course, it's the screws. And so this is where the numbers start to get weird. The other 2 towers were more or less in sync, where it was 120 seconds and 240. The numbers and the time work out pretty well for those. But of course, this one's right in the middle. So this one's every 180 seconds, I get 18. When this tower finishes, these have enough to run for 2 cycles. And half of them will probably have enough rotors to run for those 2 cycles, but the other half will need to wait for this one to finish. So then half of these would have to wait a minute, and it just kind of goes back and forth. Once the towers feeding the final one are all up to 100%, it's just a matter of time. You just have to wait for the cycle times to finally line up. And then once that finally happens, then these machines can just stay on at 100%. Screws are up to 100%, but of course, these are another culprit because they have such a long cycle time, and then same thing, they output 20 at once. You just kind of have to wait for those to turn on and off enough times until they finally got the cycles lined up right. As long as when I check the final machines, the motors, it says 100%, I'm happy. And I'm already up to 110 in my dimensional depot. The motors are working away, and so far, everything's looking good. While I was letting everything warm up, I decided, you know what, I should probably just expand my storage for just about everything. So, where things got a little bit tight, I just went up. But for most of them, I just added more to the side. Like that and that. So now I have 4 storage containers. For most things, I really don't think I need 4 for the iron rods. Just never seem to go through tons of those at a time. And this really isn't the most ideal way to set it up, but now I've got 4 industrial storage containers and 4 dimensional depots for concrete. And all of the steel products also have 4 containers. So now I'll be able to build up a pretty nice stockpile of everything. Now that I've gotten pretty much all of the major things done, now I get to kind of just run around and do a whole bunch of little things. The first thing I want to knock out is setting up an overflow for my space elevator parts here. The first one to finish will be the automated wiring, but once that finishes, then the space elevator won't take anymore, and that would just clog up this whole line. So let's just delete this. I'm going to use some good old smart splitters. Get that one lined up with the middle, and then just one on either side. Let's make these all Mark II. Since this build is Mark II. Wait, let me set everything up first. Alright, all Mark II belts, and let's set these up. So we'll have the very first one, smart blading to the right, any undefined forward. This one will be the versatile framework to the right, still any undefined forward. And here's my automated wiring. And actually what I need to do, this can be none. And this is overflow on each one. Forgot to set that. So on the left is overflow. Okay, so we can connect that back up. Alright, so that part works. I just need to give it somewhere to go once it does overflow. For any other playthrough, I would probably just sync them. It's easy and they're worth a good amount of points. But in this one, they're all kind of valuable. I just need so many for every phase. I don't really want to sync them yet. Just need a few foundations underneath here. That'll give me enough room to place my 24 storage blueprint. Just a few. When I made the blueprint, I put the smart splitter here thinking that I was going to have them kind of all feed along. But this isn't going to have a sushi belt leading down here. So I'm just going to plug each one into their own block. I'll leave that belt so I know which one. I just need 3 different lifts to bring those down, and I'll have them each plug into one of these. And that will give me a ton of time before I have to figure out what to do with them. And I just want a few more foundations up here as well. The automated wiring is going to finish faster than either of those two, so that one I'm just not going to worry about. The other two still have a ways to go, and I would like to help them along a little bit. So I made this little blueprint right here. Just 3 assemblers, all load balanced, and I've just got 2 industrial storage containers, so I can just dump the items off that it needs, and these will crank out the parts. Alright, let's replace this so I can get 2 of them in here. There we go. So the first one is going to do smart plating. With 3 assemblers, I'm pretty sure they're going to be able to work through the inventory just fine. I don't need to overclock them and use more power. And then the second set will do the versatile framework. Oh, daisy chaining is so cool. From 75 to 300. Yeah, these start adding up real quick. I went and raided my inventory piles, and so now all of them are going. I haven't gotten the notification for going on battery power yet, but let's take a look. Okay. We're still good. Plenty of wiggle room. Just close enough to where I feel like I'm using almost all the power, but not actually dipping into batteries. Fine by me. There is a lot of exploring here in my future, but I need to take care of one more thing at the hub first. Well, I decided to cut it out because, well, it really was not exciting. I sat over by the sulfur node that I have. See, there's a sulfur node, I think right down in this little pit down here, and there's also the coal node that I'm using for all my coal power. But I just set up just a whole bunch of portable miners between the two, and then set up an assembler, slooped it, and made a whole bunch of black powder, and turned it into a whole bunch of Noblesse, because I just don't want to run out. And it's, especially with them only stacking to 50, being able to use the dimensional depot to pull out more when you need it is so much more convenient than having to take multiple stacks, because I know I'm going to go through a lot. But while that worked away, I also built up a nice little stockpile, so for the next time I have to make some, at least I've got a bunch here now. So I'm going to skip through a lot of this exploration, but I will see you out in the rocky desert to show you the first thing I'm going to do. Nice to see the weather is cleared up, and the coal generators are still working like a charm. Right past the coal generators, here in the rocky forest, are 2 more geothermals I can use. So I crafted up some more high-speed connectors, and let's add these to the power. Well, it doesn't really even look noticeable, but hey, it's more power. Oh, now we're getting up to over 22,000. Alright. From what I can tell, or this seed is just really weird, geothermals are the only ones that didn't change. I guess those aren't really considered nodes? They're just different, I guess. From what I can tell so far, the locations are all exactly the same for the geothermals. They don't swap with any other thing, and their purity doesn't change at all. And this is where we are going to skip ahead quite a bit. I am going to head through, I think, the northern forest, even though I picked apart a lot of this area. There's a lot over here. And then I think I will begrudgingly probably head through the Titan forest. I really wish I had the jetpack before I spent a whole lot of time in there, because it just makes it so much easier. But you know what? I think I've got time. And in case you're wondering what exploring through the Titan forest looks like with only a parachute and a rebar gun, this is how I do it. I just build and delete, and I can get anywhere I want. Sure, it's a little tedious, but once you get up above everything, it's actually pretty easy being able to just avoid all the terrain. And then I can use some stairs, and thankfully the stairs give me a nice way to get close enough to snipe things. Turns out in areas like this, I use just the default iron rebar way more than the shatter, because the shatter I have to get close, and I do not want to get close to those things. In fact, where I can, I really like to use the nobelisks. It's going to help clear out when I actually landed on there. There we go. But if you can stick them with a couple of nobelisks, it does make killing them a whole lot easier. Oh, and sometimes you get a nice ragdoll even with the rebar. And that is how my exploring goes around this kind of an area. Oh, of course, I don't even think I have those. And then I retreat back to my foundation in the sky. And I look for the next thing to find. Hey, look at that, making some progress. Getting fairly close to the first space elevator part being done, so I'm going to make my way back. So I am going to try to work my way south so that I can make sure that everything's working fine when that does finish. Automated wiring is done, and the belt is still moving along. Versatile framework don't have an issue. I don't see why the smart plating would. Alright, the other two are still just working like a charm. And if we come down here, 3 different lifts lead to 3 different blueprints. It was just enough to back up, but not fill up the smart splitter and actually send any down. So I'm just going to wait for one more shipment just to make sure that things are headed to the storage like they're supposed to. Working like a charm. Well, looks like the smart plating is still running, but I could definitely grab more steel beams and modular frames to help out the versatile framework. But first, let me come back to the hub and empty my pockets. I have quite a few remains to make my way through. Strangely enough, 14 exactly of each of the different slugs. Up to 18 Sommer Sloop and 43 Mercer Spheres. In between feeding my constructor here with all of these remains and slugs and everything, I'm going to go grab some more parts and refill that temporary setup to get some more versatile frameworks going. Well, that's a lot of alien protein. Give me all the DNA capsules. Now I can do a little bit more mayhem. 43 isn't quite enough to do both, but for now I can only do one, and I love that 240 per minute is just so nice. Well, I'm not going to wait around for all of those to craft. I'm just going to end up sinking them all, and I don't think there's actually anything in the shop that I need right now. So instead, I think it's time for more exploration. The first trip lasted almost 4 hours. I don't think I'll be gone quite as long for this one because I'll want to come back and refill the temporary one. 30 a minute is a good amount for me and what I need to use it for, but if I'm just going to use it in a temporary setup, I can burn through those so fast. And 30 just isn't anywhere close to being enough. While everything works away, I want to see if I can find those 3 more Mercer Spheres. Back from another trip. This one was a little bit shorter, only about 2 hours, but a few more slugs, a few more remains. Drop off more beams, and more modular frames to the temp setup. And now it's time for more exploring. Maybe I should go pick up all my ammo first. All of this exploration has made me just start chugging through rebar. So I have another temporary setup so I can just crank out a whole bunch. If I can fill up, actually I don't even need to fill up. If I can get just half a container full of the rebar and the shattered rebar, that will last so long. So I've just got this temporary setup. Once I crank out enough, I'll just delete the constructor and the assembler. And I ended up finding a few more than the 3 I needed. But can you ever really have enough Mercer Spheres? Not even done with phase 2, and I've completely upgraded my dimensional depots. Let's go. I decided to come back up to the Rocky Desert and add a radar tower. I think I've got it in a pretty decent spot where I've got good enough coverage to just get the nodes up here at the top. And I don't think I'm missing any out here. Hopefully I can find some good spots to put them in to get good coverage, because they are just so helpful, especially in this save. I just have no idea where anything is. So here are the first geysers that I claimed and put the geothermals on. Then I decided to go all the way out here, and there's two more. So there's two normals that I've put geothermals on. And if you're wondering why I'm all the way up here, well, that's because there's another geothermal up here. I crafted up enough high-speed connectors to grab this one. And if we just soar right over the edge, you can see my line of power towers have gone all the way out to there. You can zoom in with photo mode. So there is another pure geothermal. Since I had the time, I figured might as well craft up a whole bunch of high-speed connectors, and grabbing as many of the normal and the pure geysers seemed like a good idea. Back in the grassy fields, as you can see, making pretty good progress on the space elevator. Almost done with the smart plating, but those versatile frames, they just need so many steel beams. I have a good stockpile in the modular frames by now. It's the steel beams that I just can't keep up with to keep adding more and more to those temporary setups. So I threw this together real quick. The geothermals are definitely going to be worth it, and I'm glad I went around and grabbed them all. But there was a reason. I wanted some more power so that I could add this temporary setup and not have to do an entire tower. The very last machines, the constructors, are even slooped. Thankfully, constructors aren't too bad. Normally it would be 20, although these are overclocked, so this is probably more like 30 or so. Multiply that by 4. Yeah, it's still going to be expensive to have 4 of these, but I'm going to have over 200 steel beams per minute cranking out of here. Each foundry leads directly into a constructor, so they're making the exact amount. And then if we come back down here, here's the iron ore. And that right there was the limiting factor, and that's what dictated all the rest of those numbers. The 67.5, that's 1/4 of a 270 belt. The iron ore is just right here. Then that gets split in between the 4 smelters. The coal is coming from all the way over there, because honestly, I completely forgot that I had one last coal out here. Since I've got a radar tower out here now. Yeah, this coal node all the way over here, I just completely forgot about. It's just kind of out of the way, and I just completely forgot it was there. Pretty convenient for me, though. The coal will just get plugged in right here, and then they will skip the smelters and plug right into all the foundries. Pretty clean little setup, if I do say so myself. I'm happy with it. But with the sloops and the overclocking, I'm not sure how much this little setup is going to take, so I thought a priority power switch would be a good idea. Because the grid is fine now, so if anything goes wrong, I just want this thing to be the one that shuts off. But it does look like I've got a bit of wiggle room. Let's watch it come to life. The sloops are all activated, and it didn't shut off. With all the batteries, I'd be really surprised if it shut off. Okay. That did jump up by like 1500 megawatts just from these few machines, but that's why I grabbed all that extra power. Oh yeah, this is going to build up so much faster. It's been about 2 hours, and as you can see, the versatile framework have almost caught up. I'm pretty sure the smart plating's still going to finish first. By having all of these steel beams building up has been really, really helpful. Since the smart plating were making pretty good progress on their own, and they're still going to finish first, I think, I changed both of the setups to be the versatile framework and then just combined them so I only have to feed the 2 containers. Now all 6 assemblers are outputting 15, so that's an extra 90 versatile framework a minute on top of my 36. So that's really made a pretty big difference. Other than ferrying some steel beams and modular frames over there, I've been keeping my busy with stocking up all of my other inventory things that I want. These 2 temporary setups are cranking out tons of black powder and AI limiters. These are both things that I'm not going to need to permanently automate. Normally I would, because I like to automate as many of the things as I can, but in this playthrough, I think I'm going to be a little bit more picky. I think there's a number of things where if I build up 1 or 2 storage containers worth of, it will probably last me the rest of the game. Throw a fully upgraded dimensional depot on top, and I am so ready for phase 3. I don't know if I've showed this before, but a completely overclocked and slooped assembler uses 1007.3 megawatts. Ooh boy. So how did I add an extra 2 of those? I added a second alien power augmenter. I am up over 25,000 megawatts in phase 2. It is all coal and geothermal. This is wild. At the current rates, I've got a little less than an hour, which will just be a blink of an eye for you. They're backing up. That's it. I've finally done it. The 210,000 space elevator parts are finally in. Oh, let's load up this cargo. It's the jetpack for me. Oh, I want that jetpack so bad. Let's go. Oh, hey factory cart. I was wondering why I was moving. Yes, on to phase 3. And that is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for being here. The save is at 108 hours and I finally reached phase 3. I have all the major parts automated and building up a nice little stockpile. With the hours and hours of exploring I did, I was able to fully upgrade my dimensional depots, and I now have 2 alien power augmenters boosting my power grid. Phase 3 is very exciting for me. Oil power will surely be a big upgrade from coal power, right? So look forward to that, and thanks for watching.